Christianity has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and not tried, just certain.
And now your host, Rob Lorby.
I'm friends with a guy. Actually, he's like real in the comic books. He wrote a book about the Planet of the Apes. He's a really intelligent, he's a geeky guy. He kind of reminds me of like Joss Whedon to me. And then I realized that he was just an absolute lunatic, blind, in the dark leftist. Just like progressive leftist, like a nutcase. And it would just flush out that every time there would be some sort of issue, he would always come down on the wrong side of the issue. Well, a couple, 2 months ago, whenever the Charlie Hebdo thing happened, he, of course, was supporting and, J. Sweet Charlie, and that's one issue that I feel like he came down on the right side of. And then, of course, this thing happened in Texas, and he puts up this post that says, and he's got something like, we have a relative that just is such a leftist but does not want to hear the other side because the other side's just so ignorant and offensive that even the mention of a conservative point of view is just offensive for this relative of ours. And he in general he's more like the Jon Stewart. Like he'll put up really cutting and insulting things, but his friends obviously know that he's got this wit about him, so they don't really ever go to bat with him. So he puts up something like, I sure hope that none of my friends support this hate-mongering woman in Texas.
Pam Geller.
Geller. Yeah. This hate-mongering Pam Geller. And I was shocked by it so much, though, that of course, I censored it up and posted it on the website just because it was so shocking to me that in one instance of exactly the same thing, it's okay. In the other instance, it's not okay.
Now, we've explored this a little bit on the show. A particular issue is startling for so many reasons because it's threatening free speech, which you think would affect somebody like an artist like himself, and so much. But the blindness, the sort of cause-like blindness is amazing. But I think it's because leftism is not steadfast values. I really believe this. Like, this notion of the First Amendment or this notion of free speech. To you and me, this is a value. This is like a deep, I don't even think people know what that even means. Like a creed, like a value. We believe that a system is healthier, riper, more vibrant because people have the freedom to say what they want without their lives being snuffed out. This guy, he sees free speech as just a movable piece on the tapestry of his like emotive leftism. And in my opinion, that's a series of various causes. I really believe this. Most of these secularists, they don't actually have fulfillment in their life, and they fill themselves up with these momentary causes. It's like cotton candy or junk food. That's why they keep having causes. The latest one is the transgender thing. So I really think it's important for America to understand that to the average leftist, free speech is only important as it props up or as it guards his particular Johnny-come-lately cause. I think that's so important for people to understand. As you hear us talk about this today, watch the news cycle for another year and watch how these same people, just like Luke explained, just not even a month, 2 months ago that happened. And already his mind has shifted because he doesn't like this woman.
This is what I genuinely think. I feel like this woman has come out clearly on more conservative news organizations.
They're the only ones that will have her.
The fact that how many other places have done crazy things when it comes to Christianity, that's not nuts. That's right. Not some hate. That's not, to use his words exactly, that's not hate mongering.
Exactly.
Listen, if it's a separation of powers, and 6, 7, 8 years ago you hated George W. Bush and you wanted him to be in jail or be dead or any number of things that they did. And then now, 6 years later, there's been all this time, and now you got a guy you like, and you want him to have dictatorial powers, and you want him to be able to make these sweeping across-the-board changes without any authorization.
But what I mentioned, Obama has actually done. He has passed the NDAA. He does have a secret kill list. He has expanded the Patriot Act. How do you feel?
He's Obama.
Actually, those are not facts. All of those, what you just stated, those wasn't facts.
For the greater good, so I'm definitely a supporter.
I'm going to vote for Obama, and hearing that stuff honestly doesn't change it. I'm a liberal.
I'm telling you, I really believe this. I think it's because they're a valueless ideology. I really believe that. With that being said, that whole conversation that we just had, I just read an article, and it said that Amazon is now going to remove the boy and the girl section from their website in regards to children's toys. And this, of course, after a mounted amount of pressure from some LGBTQXYZ group or whatever, you know the whole
alphabet, the whole alphabet.
Yeah, the alphabet gay mafia, whatever. So if me or you as parents log on to Amazon, we're not going to be able to isolate for our own consumer pleasure a gender-specific toy. Now, this gender nullification movement has been going on for a long, long time. But so basically they win. Let's just call this a win for these fanatic, freak, social engineers. Leftism wins all the time on the cultural war, regardless of the fact that their population numbers are not equivalent with their victories in the public arena. So we're all abiding by these leftist, fanatical, legislative or boycott-like things.
Yeah, this minority has such a loud voice,
exactly.
power.
The other one that wins is Islam. So Islam now it's got the left twisting around a finger. Now you mentioned the persecution of Christians. Remember that artist, that Hispanic artist that you did the Urine Christ or whatever? Well,
yeah,
Piss Christ. Yeah, after Piss Christ came out, he came out and he was like, oh, I didn't mean to offend. I was trying to empathize with Christ because he urinated on the cross. And then a month or two later, or a year or two later, he came out with Piss Moses. So that nullified everything he had said before. He was just saying nonsense. But my point is, no AKs, no body armor, no death.
Federally funded.
Federally funded. So my point here is, so all that to say, the way that we're moving right now as a civilization, as a people, if we stay on this track, like if things keep going as they are, if the people keep winning the battles because of the things that they're doing, Judeo-Christian values, constitutional values, freedom, the foundation of what this nation in particular, but the West at large was founded on, will erode. And I want to get to the bottom of why they win all the time. You know what I mean? I want to really explore why they win, because I think a think tank like this is how we devise strategies to undermine them.
Recently, with some very intelligent, very well-educated, strong believers, and when I brought up politics, they say, well, we don't get involved in politics, and we try to stay clear of politics. I think that there's a huge group that really do have a strong faith and really do have a great relationship with Christ and really have a strong belief, but when it comes to politics, they feel that politics somehow muddies their faith. Politics and standing up for their faith in the realm of politics somehow is...
Perhaps it takes away from the effectiveness of the gospel of grace.
John Piper, he's good about politics too. But he talks about how God and Christ, they're sovereign over all that stuff. But he's not afraid to say, well,
to declare
the one is right. The one is connected to the other. And there's never been a time more apparent that that line is now gone. You can no longer say, this is not the 1980s anymore where you are, a good Christian and you dress different, you talk different, you act different, you watch different movies. Now is the time where they're aggressively pursuing us. We can't afford to live like Amish. We have to get involved. We have to get involved. This is the time when the Nazis started rounding people up before they came for the Jews. Now is the time in the very beginning they're actually coming after us. So maybe it was like 3 or 4 steps ago.
I think that's very insightful. I think that is one of the huge ingredients to this problem, which is that Christians have bought the lie that their faith has to be somehow in the world. Somebody like them who loves Christ is not going to be able to get involved in the matters of this world. I think there's a lot of components to that. First of all, that's bad theology. That's this theology that Christians are going to be helicoptered out of here and go to the great white beyond. And first of all, there's nothing to biblically support that. This world is what the Lord concerns himself with, and the people in it are what the Lord concerns himself in, and you are the hands and the feet of God. So this notion that you're just going to be lifted into the great last days is just ridiculous. It completely makes your faith useless, and it desalts the whole thing. But I do believe that has happened.
I agree with you, but it's not that I can't. I can put myself in the position. Let's just remove all those people that are just believers, but they're apolitical and they're not active. Let's take the people that, if they made a decision and if they actively pursued it, would affect some sort of change, it would make a difference. Those people have to look politically at the first church. The apostles eventually became the first church. That was political. That had all kinds of political connotations.
So political that they were martyred.
Martyred. But the power structure and all the things that took place when Christ was here with the Pharisees, and maybe he wasn't a political activist, but he threatened the political system of the time. And right now, You have babies being murdered, you have the family being attacked, you have Christians being attacked, you have, in Islam, you have two choices when it comes to, Islam taking over the world, which is you can pay a tax or you can be killed. They'll kill you. Most of them, they'll just chop your head off if you don't denounce Christ. Actually, if you had anything to do with Christianity whatsoever, they'll chop your head off.
Before you move on, the tax thing is just, there's a couple sects that are smart enough to realize that before they kill them, they can profit from them. But they still plan on killing them. It's like having a chicken. You get a couple eggs before you behead it.
I agree, and I think that's the motivation, and I just wanted to throw that in there only for the sake of it is actually a thing. It's a rhetorical question. Do you honestly believe we're not at a place in history where the leftists and the people of this world don't feel like Christians are actually doing something wrong? And what do you think that is with the bakers? What do you think the fines in that are? If they're being fined for their belief system, they're being taxed for their belief system, that it's different than right now we have humanitarianism, we have socialism, we have pantheism. These are our belief systems in America now that are the loudest, self-worship, humanism. But you're being taxed for having a different opinion, for being taxed for a different belief. And do you honestly believe that this loud majority of LBGTB, HIJKLMOP, and all these loud progressive liberals would be happy with, at the very least, throwing these people in jail, at the worst, killing them? I would argue as far as to say there was enough of them that would be happy to, with their hatred and their anger for Rosie O'Donnell.
I absolutely agree with you. I think they have become so enraged, and they've been, and this is the worst thing. A lot of times, hatred and these sort of evils within the human spirit, society will come up with ways of pushing back on them and tempering them. But our society has only encouraged this one. So this one...
And Christians have only cowered in fear as a result.
Right. That's the thing you're trying to get at, and I'm so glad you did. There's nowhere to run and hide. There is nowhere to run and hide. This idea, and I have a lot of friends like the ones you were alluding to, where they want to be ostrich. They want to be ostrich when it comes to political stuff. This is an option they think is afforded to them, but the case you're making and making well is it's not afforded to them.
I'd be a lot freer if people like you were put in prison as retaliation for the collective crime of racism, misogyny, and homophobia. All you f***ing God-botherers, atheism forever! You have no redeeming factors whatsoever. Democracy is mob rule. Democracy is what took away a man's right to marry another man. The debate is over. I am tired of tolerance of intolerance. No tolerance of intolerance. These people, they have no redeeming values whatsoever. For you God-bothering, superstitious motherfuckers, Christians are responsible for slavery. It is Christianity that has done everything that is bad in this country. I'm out of here.
Les productions. Visit courageculture.net.